Welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs Podcast. My name is Dan. Today is September 15th, 2021. I'll be doing a bonus episode, short bonus episode on a sports bio about Bud Grant. Of course, many people know about Bud Grant, the basics. But how many know the details? Let's get started. Bud Grant, born Superior, Wisconsin, diagnosed with polio at age 8. Was advised to play sports to help strengthen his leg muscles. So he went ahead and did that. Became a 3-sport athlete. Currently age 94. What I'm going to do today is go through the 3 sports he did. Let's start off with basketball. Played basketball at the U of M for the Golden Gophers. Was drafted in the NBA by the Minneapolis Lakers. Was selected in the 4th round. Played 2 years for the Lakers, 1949 and 1950. 1950 is the year Minneapolis Lakers won the title. He was on that team. He has a ring. NBA ring. Was on the roster, 1950 for the NBA. Baseball. Bud Grant, born in Superior, Wisconsin, played American Legion for Superior. They had some good teams. In 1947, was picked to go to the All-Star game. The All-Star game for American Legion that year was played in Chicago. It was a nationwide All-Star game, East against the West, with the Mississippi River dividing it. Bud Grant heads down. They play at Comiskey Park in Chicago. He was the starting pitcher in the actual game. It's amazing enough. Went on to pitch 3 innings there, replaced him in the 4th inning, but was the All-Star pitcher in Legion Ball. Went on to play college at the University of Minnesota for the Golden Gophers. After that, his summers were open, so he played a lot of town ball in the states of Wisconsin and Minnesota. In Wisconsin, he played for Osceola, Ridgeland, Gordon, and many others. This photo up above is when he played for Osceola in Wisconsin. In 4 seasons in Gordon, Wisconsin, for town ball, he compiled a 60-2 win-loss record as a pitcher. 60-2, 4 seasons. That's awfully good. Then in Minnesota town ball, he played for Hastings, Stillwater, and many other teams. Typically in the summer, during those days, the good players, the stars, were paid. Bud Grant was making $100 a game during the summer months, but many very good athletes, very good pitchers, in fact, would make $50 to $70 per game. But Grant was making $100, huge, way above. That's how good he was in these 2 states. Many times he wouldn't even have a team he'd be playing for. He'd be playing just ad hoc. Teams would sign him for that day to come in and pitch. He'd do it, put on the uniform, get his cash, and out the door he'd go. Spend his time pitching. Very good hitter, though. Very good hitter. Before he wrapped up his career in amateur town ball, get this, his final town ball baseball game, he was pitching, of course, but he also hit 2 homers in the game, including a 2-run shot in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs in a walk-off win. So he gets hired to pitch, comes in and pitches. He's also in the batting order. Such a good hitter, he hit 2 home runs in his final game ever in amateur baseball, including a 2-run shot, bottom of the 9th with 2 outs. The guy was a hero. Now, we haven't even gotten to football yet. Football. Speaking of hero, this one we have to break down in two categories, player and coach. As a player, Bud Grant went to college, University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, three-sport athlete for the Gophers. After that, he was an NFL first-round pick. 1951, the Philadelphia Eagles drafted him number 1, first round, as a defensive end. In fact, his rookie season, played defensive end, led the NFL in sacks. Led the league in sacks as a rookie. Many don't know this. I wanted to point out specifically some of these stats that are just unreal. In his second season, switched him over to wide receiver. They called it end back then. He was essentially a wide receiver. Finished second in the league in yardage. Scored 7 touchdowns in the NFL. This was 1952. And not because he played poorly they switched him. They switched him to receiver because he was so good. He just got done leading the league as a rookie in sacks, and they switch him over. He was good, two-way player. After 2 years with the Eagles, switched over to the CFL. After a contract dispute, jumped over to the CFL, played 4 seasons there with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as a receiver, mainly as a receiver. Played 4 seasons there. He led the league in receptions in 3 of those 4 seasons. Not the team, not the division, but the league, whole league, as a receiver. Now, he also played both ways. Check out this. Playing defense. He once had 5 interceptions in a single game in 1953 in a playoff game. Pretty good stats there as a player. But the best of them all is yet to come. As a coach, he coached in the CFL, that's the Canadian Football League, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Spent 10 years there, actually winning the Grey Cup 4 times. That's the equivalent of the Super Bowl in the NFL. The Grey Cup 4 times in 10 years. He won the title. Went on to be inducted in the CFL's Hall of Fame in 1983. Then spent 18 years as an NFL coach for the Minnesota Vikings. Led the Vikings to 4 Super Bowls and the NFL title in 1969 before the NFL merger. He actually won the title, led the Vikings to the NFL title in 1969. Later the leagues merged, they put together a thing called the Super Bowl, led them to 4, lost all 4, but nonetheless, inducted into the NFL's Hall of Fame in 1994. 1994. Here's some pictures here. Top left, here's Coach Grant for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Bottom left for the Vikings, of course. Famous photo. Spent 18 years with the Vikings. And on the right, there's Mr. Bud Grant on the campus of University of Minnesota. Very good receiver. Tall, 6'3". I myself was lucky to meet the man. 1985. Parents took us to Mankato, Minnesota for the Vikings training camp when he was the head coach. Got a photo here taken by my mother of my brother and I. Photo with Mr. Bud Grant, 1985. That's our midweek edition of Sports and Songs podcast. A little summary on Bud Grant. Tremendous athlete. Keep in mind, he had polio at age 8. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our blog. Follow us at Sports and Songs. Once again, my name is Dan. Today is September 15th, 2021. Sports bio on Bud Grant. Thanks for listening.